Hey guys, how are we going today? Hope we're all having a lovely day. I'm back for the final check-in or finale of my no buy challenge. So in January I started this challenge basically as a way to kind of cut back on my unnecessary spending and purchases. I wasn't quite sure whether I was going to do 6 months or a year at this stage. I'm pretty certain that I don't necessarily need this to go for a full year. And I know that probably sounds like a bit of a cop-out there. But just because I've already learnt so much along the way, I have actually posted a checkup. It was a couple of months ago. I did film another one sometime in May, but I have no idea what happened to that. I don't know where it's gone. I was pretty sure that I'd uploaded it, but now I can't find it anywhere. So I'm sorry that it's been so long since my last check-in. I wasn't sure originally if this was going to be 6 months or a year. I don't feel that it's really necessary for this to go on for the full year now, as I mentioned, because I feel like I have learnt so much already. And partly because I do also feel like I have failed this challenge. Because I don't necessarily think that a full no-buy would generally suit my needs and my lifestyle. I did find, and I mentioned this in the previous check-in, that when I cut back on buying makeup and skincare, that I found that I was increasing my spending elsewhere. So I'd found that I was actually buying a lot more clothes. So I brought that into, one of the new rules at that check-in was that I wasn't going to buy any more clothes. But that was just so impossible to stick to, because there were a lot of replacements that I needed. Like a lot of my pajamas, yes, they are still wearable, but they're a few years old, so the pants had shrunk a few inches and weren't doing what they were designed to do, which was keeping me warm. And a lot of the other items that I have had to buy were as replacements, because things that I had bought last year or the year before had either shrunk or they've ripped or they're stretched to the point where they're not doing what I want them to do. So I feel like I had failed a little bit in that section of my challenge. And I did also find that when I cut back on, when I stopped buying makeup and hair care and was only buying, skincare as replacements, that I was still spending, but just in other areas. So I had also brought in, no homewares and no decorative things for around the house, but there were a few practical wants that I had purchased. So I've purchased a new thermos that is just absolutely amazing. It puts all of my other thermoses and travel mugs to shame. I do still feel a little bit of guilt about that purchase and a few of the others. So another one in particular was a frying pan and a few other things for around home that were basically replacing what I already have. So that wasn't to say that what I originally had, so the travel mugs that I originally had, the frying pan that I originally had, the other items, they weren't still doing their job that they were designed for. But they weren't doing it in a way that was effective to me. The frying pan that I had was, a non-stick one, but the non-stick coating had worn off and it honestly looked like it was starting to rust. So I'm like, I do want another one, and there's a specific one that I wanted that had specific features. It was a certain size, it was a certain style, it was made out of a certain material. So I went and bought that as well. And that and the thermos that I have, they're absolutely amazing. I don't regret their purchase, but I do still feel guilty that I had spent that money when I did have something that kind of fulfilled the role. So it was around then, which was sometime I think in the start of May, that I bought those few items, that I started to realize that that guilty feeling that I was experiencing is a good thing, because it's keeping in my mind that these things aren't necessary. That, you know, I don't necessarily need them, I just want them. And it is definitely helpful, because it's also keeping in my mind that, you know, the things that I had already purchased, the things that I already owned, that I'd had for quite a while, that they were doing the job just fine-ish, I guess, that when I bought them, I knew that they weren't exactly what I wanted. So that was another learning point, that, you know, I've come to recognize that some of the things that I have bought in the past, I've bought just because they, you know, that they are something that I need, even if they don't fill all of the requirements. So it's something that I'm, you know, now able to recognize, that if I see something, I'm like, yes, it's got this point and this point and this point, you know, it covers all of the bases, not just some of them, then, you know, yes, it's okay to buy. It's has definitely been a learning curve, that I'm also now able to recognize, you know, that when I tend to cut back on spending in one area, I'm more likely to have that need, that want, that recognizing that space that I want to fill with something new and something fantastic that is going to, you know, blow my mind and meet all of my expectations. So I feel like constricting myself in one area is spreading that feeling to other areas of my life. So by cutting out the makeup and the skincare, I, you know, had a bit of a hair care binge in February. And that was when I thought, right, I really need to cut back. And I do have to say that my most recent purchases of clothing that were the replacements for other items have definitely been more mindful. And I've been able to recognize, you know, if I pick something up or if I try something on and it doesn't blow my mind, then... And even I recently tried on a shirt that I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. But when I put it on, I'm like, there was that seed of doubt in my mind. And I thought to myself, if I'm feeling this, you know, subconscious feeling of, you know, it's not 100% fantastic, it's that feeling of it's not blowing my mind. If I'm standing here in the dressing room feeling this with, you know, all the flattering mirrors and all the flattering lights, then I'm probably going to feel even worse when I'm back at home trying it on, you know, in front of my mirror here with the terrible lighting in my bedroom. You know, I'm going to feel that uncomfortable feeling, and when I wear it out, I won't be feeling that, oh my God, I feel amazing. So it's probably not making much sense, but you know how you try on a lipstick that you absolutely love and it just fills you with that self-confidence, and that, you know, you walk around and you have that air of, I can take on the world, I can do anything, this is awesome. And then you try on another lipstick and you're like, oh, it's nice, but I'm not quite sure if it's for me. And then you kind of shrink into yourself and you feel that nervousness, and when you feel that subconscious feeling of not feeling great, it comes across in your personality, and then people look at you and go, oh my God, she's really nervous. They're, you know, really uncomfortable, and it makes you feel even more uncomfortable when you go out. So I now know, and I definitely know that unless something is going to absolutely wow me and give me that self-confidence, that it's not worth it. If it's something that's going to make me feel more self-conscious and uncomfortable, that, you know, I know not to do that again. And I know that if I'm feeling that in the store or wherever I am, that it's going to make me feel even more self-conscious in public as well. So I have learnt a lot through this challenge. And I think I've also learnt a lot by doing my project pan while I've been doing this challenge as well. So I recently bought a few things for my birthday. I was gifted some money and some vouchers, so I bought a few things. I love, you know, majority of the things that I did buy. There was one thing I'm not as thrilled with as I thought I would be. It was one of the, you know, there were two main things that I wanted for my birthday that I was certain I was absolutely going to love, and one of them just isn't blowing my mind. And like, I now know that that item, it's a lipstick, and it's not quite the right shade that I was looking for. And I do have one other lipstick in my drawer that is similar, and the other one's a liquid lipstick, and they're both kind of the same shade. They're fairly light, they're neutrals, but they're just too light for my skin tone. So I know now that they're the type of products that I won't use, and it was a learning curve to kind of teach myself about what I will use and what I won't use. And even with the other items that I've gotten use out of in my project pan that I'm working my way through, I'm learning what kind of products I prefer and what I'm going to use again and what I'm not going to use. It has also been difficult because I do still have one voucher that I received for my birthday remaining, and it's for Priceline, which I've been saving it for when Priceline have had a sale. You know, if I'm going to use the voucher for something, I really want to get my money's worth. There were definite items on my wish list that I was definitely going to get, and they were actually a few things that have been on my temptations list. It does make it difficult because I know that they're similar to a few things that I do have, but there are 3 shades of one particular item that I would really like. So they've been in my wish list for a while. There were a few lip products, and when I was putting the order together, I did know that there were a few items that I needed to replace as well. So for instance, I have used the 2 foundations that were in my 20 in 2020 Project Pan Challenge. I have also almost used up these 2 foundations here. So these the 2 lightest shades of this foundation. One's slightly too light for my skin, one's slightly too dark, but they are almost empty. And aside from those, I only have 2 other foundations in my drawer. Well, one cream, one liquid, and I do have 2 powder foundations in my drawer as well. So we're 6 months through the year. I've almost finished 4 foundations. The few that I've used, I know that they're not right for me. One of them was a BB cream, and it was fantastic. It was absolutely my shade. I loved it, but I did find that it was breaking me out. The second one was a foundation that was not quite my shade, and I had to kind of use it in a certain way, but I can also no longer get that one anymore. And these 2, they're pretty good, but that they provide, they fill a lot of the boxes, but not all of them. So the two remaining foundations that I do have, as I mentioned, one's a cream, one's a liquid. I feel that they're both my kind of special occasion makeup. They're certainly not high end. They're both Revolution foundations, and I do quite like the liquid one, which is the Conceal and Define, I think. I do quite like it, but it's very difficult with that one because the Priceline stores don't stock it, because it's one of, I think it's shade 4.5, and they don't stock it in store, so I have to order it from the website. And I figured while I was, you know, looking at getting replacement foundations, why not try something else, something that's, you know, a little bit cheaper. That one is still fairly affordable, but there are definitely others that, you know, when the half price sale goes on, it's definitely worth your while to kind of check it out. So I did add a couple of other foundations. I added 3 into the shopping basket. You know, I've been through 4 foundations this year, and as one of the rules of my low buy that I set in place last year, and one of the rules of the no buy, was that I could buy replacements. I'm glad that I haven't been replacing items as soon as I use them. You know, if once I'd used that first foundation, I could have gone out and bought a second one. Once I'd finished the second one in the project, I could have gone out and bought 2 replacements, but I decided not to. I decided I wanted to kind of use what I had here beforehand, and then once I've still got those 2 last foundations sitting in the drawer, because one is, you know, it's a cream foundation, it's more full coverage. I don't really want to be using that on an everyday basis. So I waited and I'd held off. I knew one of these sales was coming up, and I figured, why not? You know, I can get the 3 lip products that I'm wanting. If I can get them half price, they'll be what I will use my voucher towards. And then I can get a couple of foundations as replacements. You know, I've used 2 powders this year as well. There is actually another powder that I'm looking to declutter because I found a foreign substance in it that would have been in there before I purchased it. So I was looking to get a loose face powder, because I do actually have a loose face powder. I've just remembered. I've got a little sample size one here, so that will do me for now, but I was looking at a couple of different face powders, because the ones that, you know, I have, that sample size is the only translucent powder that I have at the moment, because of the other one that I am decluttering. It was very difficult because I was adding these things into the cart, and, you know, I'd added my 3 lipsticks that I was after and a blush, because they would all kind of be covered by the gift voucher. One of the items I would have had to have paid a few dollars for, but, you know, out of 6 months, if I'm only going to pay a few dollars for something that's not a replacement, I'm happy with that. And, you know, I had the foundations in there and a couple of powders in there, and I think I even added 1 or 2 skincare items that would be replacements. And when I went to go check out, I was like, oh, it's come to $100. Like, that's quite a lot. Then I thought about it. I'm like, well, the gift voucher that I have will cover part of that. So I think it was a $30 gift voucher. That'll cover that. You know, it's $70. I'm getting, you know, 2 face powders, 3 foundations, and these few other things. You know, I'd even gotten a little something to give my daughter for her birthday. Like, that's not bad. I think there was like a replacement lip balm as well. I've been through like 2 or 3 this year. I thought that's not too bad. I'm okay with that. And I went to pop the details of the gift card in, and you can't use the gift cards online on the website. And I thought about it, and I'm like, if I do this, it will be breaking the rules of the no buy. Like, if this had come up a year ago, I wouldn't have needed to justify it. I would have just said, oh, that's fine, I'll just buy it. And then next time I'm in store, I'll just use the gift card for, you know, necessity items and replacement items. And then that way I can tell the person who gave it to me, yeah, I bought these 3 things and they're lovely, I love them. But I don't think that I could do that. I don't think that I could justify it that way anymore, and I felt like that would be cheating. And then I was sitting thinking about it. I'm like, with all of the items that I've been through in my project pan this year, I had, 5 or 6 lip products in there. One I decluttered, but I rolled another one in its place. And I've used 2. So I have used 2 liquid lipsticks, although one I had to get rid of because there was a fire and a heat and a chemical issue. That will be in one of the last checkups that I have posted. So one of them I did need to get rid of for health and safety purposes, but pretty much in 6 months I have used 2 products, and I was looking at rolling in 3. So when I've put it off, I'm like, I'll wait until tomorrow, I'll see how I feel then. And that night when I, came down to my room, I was sitting on the end of my bed and I pulled open my drawer, and sitting there in my drawer are all these beautiful lipsticks and beautiful other lip products. I'm going to pull some of them out. I'm like, and these are, all of my favorite items, and I haven't used them this year. Like, there's so many others sitting here in my drawer as well. I've got these ones and these ones. There's so many that are sitting here in my drawer going unused because I'm trying to focus on the handful of products that are in my project pan. So I have 1 lip liner, 3 lipsticks, and 1 lip gloss left. And given that the past maybe 3 months I'm barely wearing any makeup, it's probably longer than that. I would say since the start of March, when we basically started isolation, I have barely worn any makeup at all. I'm lucky to wear makeup once a week. And it felt like a bit of a waste because I know that the 3 lip products I'm looking at are very similar to at least 4 or 5 of the lip products that I have in my drawer. And I was looking back through my Sephora wish list, and they're very, very similar to at least 4 or possibly 6 of the products, the lipsticks that I have on my Sephora wish list as well. So I know that it wouldn't necessarily be the wisest choice. I will definitely be holding off on those. I didn't actually put the order through for Priceline, so I've completely missed the sale, and I'm okay with that now because I know that the items that I do want, the 3 lipsticks that I do want, they're not, a limited edition kind of thing, so I'll still be able to get them whenever I do decide to. It might just mean waiting until I actually go in store and I can use the gift voucher then. But even then, I still feel guilty thinking about doing that, knowing how many lip products I have sitting here just waiting for me to use them. And I feel guilty. I feel like I'm neglecting a lot of the products that I do have, the ones that are my absolute favorites. And I've got lipsticks in here, so I'm keeping track of all of the lip products that I am using. So I also started my, no lippies left behind challenge. I have a, a minor challenge and then a major challenge. So these are the uses I would like to eventually get or eventually use all of my products for. But you can see a lot of the orange marks here are, they're the uses. So they're the uses that I've had. So I would have started this last year sometime around the time that I started my low buy, which was in November. So since November, you can see that there are a lot of products here that I haven't even used. So all these ones here, I haven't even used. There's a couple up here I haven't even used, and even down here as well. So since November, let me just quickly count it. 1, 2, 3. So there are at least 11 lip products that I have that I haven't used since November. The start of November, actually. So that would be the 1st of November. So that's, 8 months? And you can see that all of the products that I have gotten the use out of are the ones that are in my project pan. So I have exclusively been using those and focusing on those. And it makes it very difficult for me to justify buying new products just for the sake of wanting something new, when I know I have others in here that are fairly similar. And I think the thing that is hard for me is that knowing that the 3 lip products that I want, they may be similar, but they may have those slight differences from what I have. And I'll never know until I actually get them and I swatch them against the others that I have here. It was an issue that I was made very well aware of when I filmed a top 5 lip products or top 10 lip products. The majority of the lipsticks that I like are all very similar. They're all either berry reds or rosy toned nudes. So like the color that I'm wearing today, only with slight variances. So when I swatch them all on my hand in that video, you can see that they're all fairly similar, but just subtly different in the lighting. So one might have slightly more pink, one might be slightly more mauve, one might be matte, one might have glitter. They're all still in that, nudie color family that I just love. And when I've looked at it, I'm like, the lipsticks that I'm after now, they're exactly the same. They're all really similar, but like seeing those 3 swatched next to each other, you can see the differences. And I know that if I swatch them all with the products that I have here at home, that it would basically be like a gradient, seeing them go from lightest to darkest, or pinkest to mauvest. It's like a color spectrum, being able to see them all next to each other. And I don't think that I would be able to justify that, seeing those all next to each other, when I already know that I have 2 or 3 here that are pretty much exactly the same as those ones. And there's actually a couple here that I have that are basically exactly the same as each other. The thing that has been most difficult for me is wanting to get the use out of these products that I do have here. So starting to use the nude colors that I do have here, when I feel like with my 20 in 2020 challenge, my project pan, I feel like I'm very constricted. I can really only use the colors that I do have. So one's a bright red, so I've got my MAC Ruby Woo. I have my nudie color, a nudie mauvey color, and then I have like a deeper berryish one. And it's been very difficult because there has been times where I'm trying to get through them. I'm trying to use them as much as I can. But having those restrictions of only having those certain colors, it's making me want something new and something different to use, which I think is fueling that desire for me to buy the new products. So I'm being a little bit torn. I do definitely want new, like those new items, and I want something new to use. But part of me is going, but you know you have something the same. You know you have the exact same thing and you're not using it. Like you already have it, but you're not using it. You know, you should be using that one first. And then part of my brain is going, yes, but then if I use that one, I'm not going to get through the items that are in my project. So having both of these projects going at the same time, it has definitely been beneficial, but there have been definitely some big drawbacks as well. I don't think I'll ever have 2 projects like this going at the same time again, but I've definitely seen some results and some benefits from this. So I know now that if I do a no-buy like this again, that I'll have to set myself some very, very strict rules. But I don't think I ever will, because it's just not working for me. It's not the type of challenge that I need, or not even necessarily challenge. It's not giving me the right goals. It's not encouraging me in the way that I need to be encouraged. So I know for future reference with a project pan, not to set myself so many lip products, like maybe set 1 or 2 at a time, and that's it. Or I think even just 1 would be enough, and then I can still use other ones like from my set that I have here in place, like for special occasions. I've never made it as a rule for my project pan that I can't use anything else in my drawers or anything else that I have. I've never had that as a rule, but there's just that part of in the back of my mind that goes, you could be using this one and getting an extra use out of it, and then it would be, you know, 1 less time you have to use it down the track, or you'll get through it sooner if you use it more. So it's been a big learning curve, and I now know with the no-buy that a no-buy just doesn't work for me. The whole point of the no-buy was to basically cut my spending and save as much as I can. And yes, that has happened. I have saved, but I've also been finding that, you know, I'm not obsessed. I don't feel that need to just buy makeup all the time and buy new things. You know, that the whole new is always better. I don't have that need anymore. I still have the need to buy new things. I still feel like I want that rush. You know, the rush when you find something that's absolutely fantastic and it just makes you feel amazing. It's the, you know, that moment I was talking about earlier. Just that rush of self-confidence and that great feeling and the adrenaline, and it's just great. But I have learnt that it's not just makeup that's giving me that rush. It's other things. Like lately it has been house plants. I'm like, my house is being overrun with plants. I've had like maybe 3 or 4 different lots of buying house plants over the past couple of months. So I'm learning it's not just one area of my life where this is a problem, that I need to start being more mindful with my purchases in general. I don't want to be buying crappy thermoses and crappy fry pans anymore. I only want the good stuff. I only want the ones that are going to tick every box. So I've learned that with, you know, my makeup challenges and my hair care challenges. I don't want the subpar items. I only want the ones that are going to fill every need that I have and every requirement that I have. I don't feel like a no-buy has supported... Well, it has. It's supported my journey with learning, you know, how to recognize the symptoms of, you know, when I'm feeling low and when I feel like I need to buy something to give me that high. That when I go down to the shops that I can be impulsive and compulsive with purchases. Even just the other day, I was at Bunnings. I went to go get a few things and I walked out like I went to get like 2 or 3 things. And I walked out and I'd spent, I think, close to $200, maybe $150. There were a few unnecessary things in there. And it does make it difficult, but I'm learning to recognize the signs and the practices that I have put into place with regard to my makeup and hair care. I'm now learning that with clothing as well. So it was just last night, I was on the Boohoo website and I was just looking at dresses, and it's something I've recognized recently that a lot of the clothes that I do have, they're just not my style. I'm looking at things, and with how I've changed and the person that I've become over the past 2 or 3 years, I'm looking around and I'm like, nothing in my wardrobe suits the person that I am now. It's all the person that I was a few years ago. And it's driving me to that, you know, I want to look for new things. I want to look for things that are the person that I am today and the person that I want to be. So I was scrolling through the Boohoo website, and there's been things that have been on my wish list there for ages. And I popped on the website and like, 50% off sale. Let me have a look and see what they've got. And I added quite a few things into, you know, the shopping basket. And I went to go have a look at them all. I'm like, right, I'll just see what I've added in there. There were about 7 or 8 things, and it was close to $200. Like, I'm not spending that much on clothes. Like, I don't need to. I don't have it in my bank account at the moment anyway. And as I was taking out the things that were definitely not needed and the things that were most expensive, I was looking at the rest of it going, what if it doesn't fit? I'm going to have to pay to have them ship it to me and then pay to return it for them, like, to give me the money back for the actual dress or whatever it was. And I thought about the things that were in there, like in the shopping basket, and the things that I have in my wardrobe that are fairly similar. So with the instances of the dress, I was looking at them and thinking, oh yes, that would be a nice special occasion dress if I go to a wedding, or that would be one if I go to a cocktail party, or this will be one if, you know, I go out for dinner. And I thought about it, I'm like, I don't do those things. If I have a wedding come up, I can, you know, go and buy a dress then. I actually have I have 2 or 3 in the wardrobe that would suit that need. If I go to a cocktail party or go out for dinner, I have 1 or 2 dresses there that would suit that need as well. And it wasn't until I'd kind of talked myself out of it that I thought, oh crap, I'm still on the no buy. I shouldn't be spending any money anyway. So it's good that, and this has happened like with the Priceline basket as well, shopping online with Priceline. I was kind of talking myself into the items and then talking myself out of them before I even remembered that I shouldn't be spending any money. Which is a good thing and also a bad thing. So I kind of wanted it to always be that, like, no, I shouldn't be spending money. No, I shouldn't be spending money. I'm on a no buy challenge. I'm on a no buy challenge. I wanted that to be the first thought in my mind. And when I was thinking about this earlier today, I'm like, maybe it's a good thing that it wasn't the first thing in my mind. Like, I don't want the no buy challenge to be the only thing that is stopping me from spending money. I want that second guessing in my mind. I want to be talking myself out of buying unnecessary things. Like I mentioned earlier with the fry pan, the needing something that ticks every box. I have 2 or 3 dresses or 2 or 3 items in my wardrobe for every occasion, that majority of which already tick every box. I don't want to have to go through the risk of buying something online and finding it's not ticking every box and then having to go through returning it, just on the chance of it might be nice, it might tick every box. I'm sure that if I have something come up, like a big event where I want something new, that I'll be able to go, to a big shopping center and have a look around and find something that does tick every box. And I'm sure that it will be perfect. It may be spending a little bit more than what I would if I buy something online now. But who knows when the next time is going to be that I'll have an event like that come up. It might not be for another 6 months or a year. I might gain weight by then. I might lose weight by then. My needs at that time may be completely different to what it is now. And I don't want to have something sitting there, like bought for one occasion and one specific occasion only, sitting there doing nothing. I already have a few dresses that are sitting there in the wardrobe doing nothing. I have dresses that still have the tags on them that I bought 6 years ago for a special occasion and changed my mind and went with something different, or the occasion was cancelled. I have plenty of stuff sitting in my wardrobe doing that at the moment. I don't need to be adding more things into my life that are going to sit there and not fulfill a purpose. Same as my reasoning for not buying any candles or wax melts this year. So the last lot of fragrance items that I bought for my house was in December. I haven't bought anything else for the rest of this year, and I have, melt sets like this. Oh, I forgot I had this one. I put it down in my room with some other candles and stuff, and I'm like, right, I'm going to use these and then I'll go on to all of my really good ones. So I sorted out my candle and melt drawer with, my favorites and my least favorite fragrances. So I'm like, right, I'm going to try and use all the ones that I don't particularly like first before I start using the ones that I really, really love. And I put this one down here in my room. So I'm like, right, I'll use it in here and I'll use it in the bathroom before I go in the drawer and get anything else out. And last week I'm like, right, I haven't had anything going in a few weeks. Let's put some nice smells in the house, make it feel nice. And I went through the drawer, completely forgot that this one was down in here. So I know now, like, out of sight, out of mind. What I can't see, I forget I have. Same as with all of the lipsticks as well. I'd forgotten that I had so many of these until I opened the drawer and I was like, oh, I remember that one. I want to wear that one again. I'm going to pop them back in the drawer. Same as with the wax melts. I forgot what ones I had until I see it. And I have definitely gotten more use out of these type of things. I think recently I've been through either these or the Scentsy ones. 3. So I had 3 like half packets. One that I'd, put a couple in the lounge room, and I'll put something different in the bedroom and the bathroom. So I had like 3 half packets around, and recently I have finished off all 3 of the half packets. So I only have full packs left, which is good. Like I've gotten the use out of them. And I've started using my candles a lot more as well. So I was recently given a candle for my birthday, and I remembered that the people who gave it to me for my birthday gave me one for Christmas as well that I hadn't even lit. So I've also got another 4 candles in the drawer that I haven't lit either. And it hasn't even really entered my mind that I need to be buying more of these, and I need to be buying more candles. Mainly as well, I think it has definitely been helpful to be in isolation and in lockdown, because it's not making me want to buy things all the time when I'm out. I haven't been traveling far to the shopping centres that are further away. So the one close to me really only has a supermarket. It's got a Woolies, it's got a Big W, it's got a few other bits and pieces. The things that you can get by with. It doesn't have, one of the big fancy shopping centres that has hundreds of stores. As much as I would love to go see one of those, I'm having car trouble as well lately. I'm like, I don't want to be driving down to one of those and have something happen to get stuck on the side of the road. All for what? Just to go to a shopping centre where I'm probably just going to waste a whole heap of money that I could save and put towards buying a new car. It's definitely been helpful, like being inside all the time. I used to go to the shopping centres, like the big ones. There are a few pretty close to me, within half an hour, 45 minutes. There are probably 3 or 4 that I would go to fairly regularly. So, every week or 2. And it was basically just going there, walking around, finding a couple of things, like finding an excuse to go there for 1 or 2 things. So there's no Priceline store near me anymore. There used to be, but there's not anymore. And normally I would have used that gift voucher as an excuse to go to one of the Priceline stores and in one of the big shopping centres, and then I would have made a whole day out of it. If I'd have gone to one of the ones that had Mecca, I undoubtedly would have gone to Mecca and most likely would have, swatched and then felt guilty for being in there and not buying anything, so would have bought something small. If I'd have gone to Sephora, things at Sephora are a bit more reasonably priced, so I probably would have given in and bought something. I've got a few of the Sephora lipsticks, and there are about 3 or 4 of their other colours that are on my wish list. So most likely 1 or 2 of those would have ended up coming home with me as well. It's been a very unusual situation and circumstance that I have been in this year. And I think the combination of everything that's happened this year, so with the No Buy Challenge and with the Project Pan and with the isolation and lockdown, if this had happened, any of those situations happening by themselves in any other year, I probably wouldn't have come away with as much insight as I have with it all happening now and this year. At the moment, I don't feel that continuing the no buy would be beneficial in any way, because I kind of feel like I've already failed. So the point of it was to, pretty much stop all my spending. And it hasn't happened. I cut back on the makeup and the skincare, and then that led to me, going on a bit of a haul with the hair care. I decided then to cut back, to not buy anything hair care, and I haven't. Since that haul, I haven't bought any hair care. Since starting this no buy for makeup, the only items I have bought have been replacement mascaras and using my vouchers. but it increased my shopping elsewhere. And when I didn't set any rules to say, well, I did set rules. I said no homewares either, and I haven't bought any, homewares, decoration, that kind of thing. The only items that I have bought have been useful replacements. So I feel like I kind of have failed, because I did buy, a fair amount of clothing this year, and I have been buying things for around the home. But it has definitely been more mindful purchasing and only buying what I absolutely need, with the exception of plants. But I know that now. Like, I never really recognized that until sitting down today. I'm like, I have bought so many plants this year, it's not funny. But now that I've recognized that that's an area where I'm struggling and that I have failed as well, I can grow and I can move on and think about it next time I'm at Bunnings. I'm like, I don't need more plants. I've got the ones in the bedroom, I've got the ones in the bathroom, I've got all the ones in the lounge room and the kitchen, and I've even got outdoor plants that I've had sitting inside for about 4 weeks now that I just haven't had a chance to plant outside. I think I will definitely be sticking to a low buy, or the rules of my low buy. So I've shown this previously, although it probably hasn't been, you probably haven't been able to see it. I'm not necessarily going on a low buy, but more of a mindful spending, or I don't even know how to explain it. Basically just keeping in mind all of these things that I've written down. So I did write down some thinking points last year as well that I want to kind of keep in mind when I'm making purchases. I'm not going to film it and put it up in this video because it's just going to be too long. It's been a really long video anyway, and I doubt anyone's even still watching at this point. But it's good to put it out there. It's good for me to sit down and say it, so that even if someone has made it until this point, it's keeping me accountable. So I'm going to continue filming this afternoon with my thinking points and with my rules for how I'm going to continue on from here, and pop it up as a separate video. So keep an eye out for that. It will be up hopefully a few days after I pop this one up. I do also want to apologize for being really slack with how often I've been posting the past few weeks, months. I've had a lot going on and it's just been too difficult for me to cope with anything at this stage. So if you have any questions, please feel free to comment down below. But until then, I'll talk to you next time.